Good evening, my Roslins and Rosikins. Mother is back. And in this video, we're going to be talking about why some unambiguous black women can't stand brown cis dark skin exoticals. Yeah, I've been thinking about this for like a little bit, and I often ask myself, like, why are women like myself and other brown cis dark skin exoticals, why do we catch so much shit from unambiguous black women? And as you know, in my earlier videos, especially, I talked about the differences between unambiguous black women and brown cis dark skin exoticals and my personal experiences and how when I compare, they're not the same, right? And so I want to touch on some reasons why I believe, after I was actually thinking more about it in the way of, objectively, well, why do these differences trigger um, unambiguous black women when brown / dark skin exoticals are speaking our piece on our soapbox about our privileged plights and the way that we're perceived and treated in the world, and how we are the sisters of lighter skin exoticals and not the enemies nor the cheerleaders. And you could check out my videos on that. So, number one, we are not relatable, okay? We don't share the same plights as unambiguous black women. And I have a whole entire series called Privileged Plights, and I'm going to be adding to that more in the future. I've just really been focusing on uplifting my brown cis dark skin exoticals. And so, yeah. So, here's some plights that we don't share, okay? Racism / discrimination to the extent that unambiguous black women face. So, we touched on this before, or maybe we haven't, so we're going to today. A lot of times, unambiguous black women, especially from other countries and islands, shout out to my West Indie baddies. If you are an unambiguous black woman, that's also West Indie, you know, that's interesting and that's cool um, as well. But I don't really hear this from my islanders like that. I hear this more from just black people within the diaspora that are unambiguously black, who believe that everything is racism / discrimination, when in fact it could be um, is it xenophobia? Xenophobia, I believe. When someone is judging you because of the country you come from, not necessarily the race. Yeah. So you're experiencing xenophobia. You might even be experiencing classism. Like I talked about in that video I made. It's a short video. I think one of the shortest videos on my channel. And I was talking about how it's not racism, it's classism, and how I do not pair ghetto-ness with blackness because ghetto-ness comes in every shade, honey. Um, so the struggle of, contrary to popular belief, and that is exactly why, what does she call the Danish, whatever, I forgot, the Danish something. Um, yeah, that unambiguous black woman who was going cocoa for Cocoa Puffs over the white, tall, blue-eyed, blonde-haired man that end up taking her for everything she's worth, period. Yeah, that struggle of. And I remember now, the Danish deception. More like white male worship deception. Okay? Get your life. And Mother's going to do a video about that soon enough. But these are the plights that we don't face, right? In regards to the racism and discrimination. Yes, we have blackness in us, and it shows more so than others. And to be melanated, some could say maybe colorism paired with racism if we do experience that discrimination. But the discrimination we face is not to the extent that we often hear unambiguous black women talking about, at least for me, right? Also, the discrimination against features, colors, like, being melanated more heavily than lighter skin exoticals, and texturism. I've never really heard, to the extent that I've heard from unambiguous black women, the plights of that, of experiencing colorism, texturism, and featureism. Now, what I will say is that I really do realize this. A lot of times, us brown to darker skin exoticals, we are more so the social justice warriors advocating on behalf of unambiguous black women when we think we are unambiguous black women ourselves. When we think that we share the same plights, we're the ones voicing, trying to defend other women of color in general, but specifically in this case, unambiguous black women, because we care about our unambiguous black women. We care about their well being. We care about how they feel, and we want to be advocates for them. You know what I'm saying? But once you realize, as a Roslyn, one should say, a brown cis dark skin article, that you do live a different life, you start to see how that can actually backfire. Because unambiguous black women would swear that you guys are twins and you have the same plights when you really don't, to the extent that they're trying to make it be, or at all. Okay, depending on how your phenotype is as a brown cis dark skin exotical, there's just certain levels of discrimination and prejudice you will not face in racism to the extent that unambiguous black women face, and that's just the truth. And you won't be as insecure about your features or colorism or texturism. Um, you just won't to that extent either. And another thing that I realized that we face as brown cis dark skin exoticals that unambiguous black women um, say they face, but we can't relate, is the unambiguous black men and how we are desired by them. I'm just going to keep it a buck, okay? Mother personally has never had a problem attracting and being desired by unambiguous black men. I just haven't. Not lighter black men, not darker black men, hell, not even African black men, not white men, not Hispanic men, not Asian men, though I haven't really dealt with an Asian man. I don't think so. But I've never had that issue of, oh, they don't want us. What I've come to know for myself with my experiences and feel about this conversation about being desired by different types of men, different races of men and cultures of men, is that if they find you attractive, if they find you pretty, they're going to want to talk to you. Okay. And I'm pretty sure that my brown to darker skinned exotical sisters, my Roslins as well, my babies, they can also vouch for this. It's not a, oh, he doesn't like black women thing, he doesn't like mixed women thing. It's, are you pretty, right? Are you pretty? Are you intelligent? Do you have something going for yourself? Do you carry yourself with class, or at least respectable, if nothing else, right? Those are the questions, right? Like, what life decisions have you made as a grown woman that have put you in a great spotlight and not a bad one? How is your reputation, right? How serious do you take your education, bettering yourself, your career, things like that. And so whenever I hear unambiguous black women crying and asking in comment sections on social media, do you like black girls, and all that foolishness, I just can't relate. I can't. And here's another thing: the tea for us brown cis darker skin circles, us Roslins, is that if a man is colorist, let's say he is racist, let's say he doesn't like my brown skin, fuck him. Simple as that. On to the next. I got options. Okay. So does he. And I just keep it moving. So my thing is that the mindset that a brown cis dark skin aqua has is totally different from that of an unambiguous black woman who has a victim mentality. Brown cis dark skin aquas, we have a damsel mentality. And it boils down to the fact that whatever happens in our life, we know we're the pretty girl. We know we're the main character. And so we're going to keep getting back up, leveling up, getting skinnier, richer. Sorry, I'm going to say skinnier, wealthier, and prettier, okay? Because when I think of wealth, I think of long money. When I think of rich, I think of something fast. But, wealth could be accumulated fast, but it's still something that can be generational. So I use the word wealth instead of rich. But yeah, prettier, wealthier, skinnier. That's the mindset that we Roslins have. We don't sit here and try to dwell on all the rejection, all the trauma. We, process it. We might still be healing from our traumas, right? But we're not going to let that hold us back from our beauty destinies, okay? To be a Roslyn is to be a fighter, okay? To be a Roslyn is to be a victor, a champion. It's not to be a victim. Okay. We have a different mentality. Okay. These battle scars, Okay, you know how they say stretch marks on my ass, call me Tigger type of thing, city girls, yeah. Yeah, all these scars make me sexier, honey. Call me Cheetah for the dots, okay? So yeah, we don't really care. We don't care. We don't care. Okay. We just don't. Second reason, second reason why some unambiguous black women can't stand brown or dark skin articles, even if we face the same plights concerning the patriarchy, like condemning single motherhood or being a woman in general, we are redeemable as a collective. So, you know how there's a stigma on single unambiguous black women that are mothers, um, and then, exoticals, we get clowned when we make the same mistakes. But the gag is that regardless if we're getting clowned, we still get a second chance. And unfortunately, for a lot of unambiguous black women, there is already a stigma on the collective of them to the point that, it's like people expect them to be single mothers. And I've touched on this before. That's exactly why when an exotical falls and gets humbled by the patriarchy or a man in any situation, whether it's through abuse, whether it's through becoming a single mother, whether it's through divorce, whether it's just through being seen as a whore, a sex worker, whatever you want to call it, ex worker, right? Whatever situation she finds herself in that, the patriarchy could try to humble her with, we still are given a second chance. We're still deemed as redeemable. We're still deemed as a hot mess, emphasis on hot mess, okay? On the hot part though. We're seen as okay, like she made a mistake. She trusted the wrong dude. But here's another successful dude trying to wife her up, trying to date her, trying to do something, right? Trying to help her. You know what I'm saying? Okay, oh, she's divorced. Okay. And on to leveling up and marrying a better man. So, like, there are countless examples of brown dark skin exoticals in the media, as well as exoticals as a collective as well, leveling up. We don't stay down, okay? Okay, we just don't. We don't. And I think that's the gag with being a brown dark skin article, because many unambiguous black women will say their skin tone is what holds them back in all these departments. But for exoticals that are brown and darker skin that experience the same type of, let's say, plights as an unambiguous black woman in regards to the patriarchy, we still end up being able to get a bag. We still being able to marry up, practice hypergamy, not hypogamy, okay? Like, I was listening to Exoticals United's recent video. Oh my god, I love what she posts. And she was talking about how Exoticals on Bad Girls Club, and I grew up watching Bad Girls Club myself, how they still are getting a bag even if they're acting ratchet. And she was mentioning also how unambiguous black women see the difference in how we're covered in regards to publicity, even when there is ratchetness involved versus them. And so the gag is that in whatever bad light the media tries to cast exoticals, but especially in whatever bad light unambiguous black women try to cast us in and say, oh yeah, see, you got the same black man, or see, you got this, you got that, whatever. However they try to clown us with men as well. You know what I'm saying? We still end up faring better than them in some way, some capacity. And we end up getting more sympathy as well. And that's also something that really pisses them off about the brown dark skin articles. Number 3, we are equal to light-skinned exoticals concerning privileges and beauty. The only difference is we are brown to darker skinned. Meanwhile, unambiguous black women feel beneath and enraged by lighter skinned exoticals simply because they exist. So like I told you in my video I made a long time ago about how brown to dark skinned exoticals are not the sidekicks of the exotical community. We hold our own, we stand on our own, just like our lighter skinned exoticals do. Okay, lighter skinned exotical sisters do. Concerning privileges and beauty, one thing I've realized too is that I think because black women hate to see a lighter skinned exotical coming. They just hate to see it happen. Her existing gets her question about her beauty. Is she pretty or is she light skinned? And if you keep up with my community posts, you see that I even went and asked ChatGPT to make me an AI version of myself with the same feature. Well, I didn't even have to ask for the same features. I said, can you make me lighter skin? And it did. And then I said, make me light skin. So there's no brownness there. It's just light skin. And it made me kind of a little palish, lighter tan skin, which is cool. But my point was to show that whether I was a lighter skin, exotical, or brown like I am right now, I would still be a baddie and pretty as fuck. So my point is It's not the light skinned baby. Whether she was dark like you as an unambiguous black woman or brown like me as a brown skin exotical or whatever, right? And she would still be pretty as fuck. And so, me as a brown skin exotical, I can acknowledge this because I don't have to try to be delusional in my head and think that a pretty woman is not pretty in whatever shade she would be, because what's going to stay the same is her features, right? Whether she's brown, dark, light, it doesn't matter. And, even with other racial groups, again, brown, dark, light, if you're a pretty girl, you're a pretty girl. And that even goes for unambiguous black women as well. Like I mentioned in my post, like if you're a pretty unambiguous black woman, baby, you're a pretty unambiguous black woman. What a hoe gotta say, huh? Just like if you're a pretty exotical, you're pretty exotical. Pretty is pretty. I've always said this. And so what it really boils down to is your face card, how you look. You can always lose the weight. They're big, beautiful women, right? Mind you, I didn't say the big bags. I said big, beautiful women. Anyway. Um, big bag, big bag. Okay, let me not. Okay, the point is that when it comes down to this conversation, we still are able to pull men of, you know, African descent, the black community descent, other racial groups descent, different, let's say, how do you say this? Economic backgrounds, so wealthier men as well as, average working men. Okay, I'm going to not even count the poverty ones because fuck that. I'm so serious. Don't do this. Don't do it. We don't practice hypogamy. We practice hypergamy. Get your life. Go follow Shirt 7 if you feel like, you want to feed a Dusty today. I can't do this. Anyway. But yeah, like, no. I mean, seriously though. Seriously though. Number 4, we understand what multicultural and multiracial truly encompasses. Now, for example, I'm going to use myself. I'm West Indian and Sulani, and I appreciate and dive into and embody both cultures. So, I'm more Sulani than I am West Indian, like I told you before. And, but still, West Indian is still within my blood, so I'm going to speak on shit because it's in me. So, it is what it is. But I can separate that from the fact that, okay, I have admixture, but I'm not mixed. You get what I'm saying? So, like, I have African ancestry, Native ancestry, and European ancestry, and appreciate all, and even connected to my phenotype as well, okay? So, technically speaking, if you have other racial groups within your blood, you are multiracial. Does that mean that you are mixed in the sense of like a half and half or a thirds? No, because my admixture is a lower percentage, and I can admit that because I have nothing to hide. But it's still my admixture, which is my European and my Native, and I'm proud. Okay? And then I have my African ancestry that I really truly like use spiritually along with my European and Native, but African ancestry is at the center. But that also connects to my Sulani heritage, which I love as an African American woman. Um, and so I'm just thinking about all these different ways in which I define myself, in which I explore myself, in which I break down myself to a science spiritually, culturally, and racially. And the point is that, hello, that's what us brown cis dark skins alcohols do. We're not trying to disrespect women of all the cultures, right? And want to fuck their sons and brothers, right? And fathers, okay? We're not trying to tell a light skinned exotical that she's a mutt or something very disrespectful, and but still try to say that they're at the bottom compared to Hispanic women or white women or whatever. And when we are more black presenting in the sense of more melanated. hmm And so, because that would be stupid. Because the question would be, if there's a hierarchy about race and you say blackness is at the bottom, but then you over here coming for a large skin exotical who looks closer to the whiteness that you're saying is above blackness and saying she's beneath, then where does that put you as an unambiguous black woman if you're the one saying the shit on the hierarchy that you have created for yourself? You know what I'm saying? So brown skin to dark skin exoticals, we don't be doing that shit. Okay, we understand and use our good common fucking sense that to throw jabs at lighter skins are close to throw the jabs at ourselves. To disrespect an unbiased black woman as well is to throw jabs at herself because we do share a skin tone, and so to demonize the skin tone that we possess would be dumb as fuck. And so that's what I'm just saying. Like, we share the skin tone of an unambiguous black woman, but we share the plights of a lighter skinned Zako. And so the thing is that we have a nuance to this. We is the word nuance. We have a very interesting perspective, and I say this: I'm a black woman, but I'm also a brown to dark skinned Zako. And no, I don't have to be mixed to be one. Thank you. And so my thing is just the fact that it's just so interesting how I'm able to see both perspectives, but live my life, which is like a combination of both, but not yet fully both. It's like you are the middle child out of the three siblings, right? You got the youngest, you got the oldest, but then there's you, who maybe you have a mixture of both parents. And, the oldest takes after mom, the youngest takes after dad, but you're smack in the middle. That's what it feels like to be a brown to dark skin exotical. We're in the in between, okay? We're in the in between. We're privileged, but we're melanated, right? We get mistaken from being from around the world in different melanated communities, right? We have these advantages and this beauty that is all encompassing but so ancestral. And so I just love that about myself. And I love that for my Roslins as well. No matter what phenotype you have, my beautiful Roslins. Okay, also, a Roslyn can be mixed with Latina and African ancestry and wear clothing styles and gear her beauty towards each as well as cultural connection. So, with a brown sister Sinzalco, when we have these conversations about where we come from, who we are, what we're mixed with, what admixtures we may possess, etc., what cultures we come from, it's really a very interesting topic for us and a very honest topic, right? We're not trying to be something that we're not. We're just being ourselves, right? And people who come from certain cultures can recognize the differences in how we look, how we carry ourselves, how we think, in the way that we just move through society. You know what I'm saying? We're not racist and culturally biased against communities outside Black community as well. We don't try to put other races down. We acknowledge that there are scientific differences and historical facts. Don't get me twisted. No one here is kissing ass to any and every race out there that especially has wronged the Black community in any shape or, way. We don't do that. Or the Exotical community. We don't do that. Okay. We don't kiss ass here. Okay. We're not the Danish delusion type, the Danish deception, hashtag white male worship deception. We don't practice that here. Let's get this straight. Okay. I'm standing on my 10 toes when I say that, hun. But we're not so ignorant and so victimized that we must make everything about race, that we must sit here and think everybody's evil that doesn't share the same skin tone or come from our same community. Now, I believe that community preservation is very important, which is what us exoticals practice, as well as the unambiguous Black community in certain parts and sectors. And so I agree, if you're going to be for your people, be for your people. There should be boundaries. That way people don't come in and take from you and try to flip it and reverse it. You know what I'm saying? So I get it. However, we don't go out there looking for trouble and trying to make everything a social justice warrior moment. We're just not built that way because we're too busy trying to level up. Again, all we care about, I'm gonna tell you for real facts. As Roslins, as brown dark skins exoticals. And exoticals as a whole, but in this case, I'm talking about brown dark skins exoticals and how different from unambiguous Black women. What we care about is getting skinnier, wealthier, and prettier because that's gonna help us level up in our professions, entrepreneurship, relationships, marriages. If you choose to be a mother, motherhood. If you choose to be child free, a child free lifestyle, etc. Right? Our families, like all we care about is what's going to better our experiences here on earth and help touch those that we want to touch in a positive way in our lives. That's all we care about. If it's not about that and it's not affecting us personally and it's not like something that, you just can't avoid, then we're not going to engage in certain topics. We're not going to engage in certain mindsets. We're just not, like the example with, for example, for me, I've been following the story about the mother that had gotten beat up by his children, that she has sickle cell disease. And she and her baby boy and her little baby girl were getting attacked by a horde of hoodlums, little middle schoolers and below. God help the future, Lord, help the future. Y'all, please. And I've been following that story and just looking and listening, and it turns out she's better now. Her and her children, they're going to sue the parents. Good for them. They need to sue the parents of those rowdy ass kids. But for me, I'm not about to sit here and say, "Oh, it's racist that woman is like suing those kids, and those kids they're just kids. No, those kids need to be held the fuck accountable." Let's go there. Okay, I don't care that they're black children in the sense of, oh my God, we're trying to demonize black kids now. No, we're trying to hold black kids accountable in this situation because I know there are good black kids. I was one of them. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not about to sit here and try to make it a whole social justice warrior story when it's really an accountability and parenting story, and how being brought into certain homes and raised in certain homes as a child can make you think shit is the way that it's not. And by the way that it's not, that you could be hitting on grown ass women and fighting kids that ain't doing nothing to you and being a fucking bully. So let's go there. You know what I'm saying? And the mentality I have with this story is more so that woman needs to sue them parents for everything they're worth. Those single mothers need to be held accountable. Those kids need to be brought up in a better home. And yeah, next, like, it's not something that is like, oh my God, this represents me to my core. And another thing with exoticals in general, and especially brown to dark exoticals in this situation, we don't look as every story and every like person that's melanated as our representation. Okay. Because we have great representation. We don't need to try to grab anything that has melanin and claim it, for the fuck of it. We don't do that. Okay. I only claim, I'm gonna be honest, I only claim women, my Roslins, who, one, fuck with me heavy, two, have the same mindset as me. I just want to get prettier, wealthier, and skinnier in life and like live my best fucking life. And three, that are moving forward, that are a positive influence and impact on the world, and that are intelligent. Like, I don't care if you are also brown to dark skin alcohol, but you're ghetto. Like, I'm not gonna fault you for being ghetto, but I'm not about to be your best friend. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel the need to have to become friends with someone just because of how they look. You know what I'm saying? Just, like, you know how people say that exoticals are so superficial? Well, you know what I think is superficial? Saying everybody's a sister because they have melanin. Fuck that. All y'all ain't my sisters. Some of you bitches is really the op. I'm gonna just say it. But if you have a mindset like me, if you fuck with me heavy, I fuck with you heavy. We have an understanding, we have respect for one another. We can chill out. But if you're someone who's hating on me, who's just disrespectful, who's like them rowdy ass kids just hurting people for no fucking reason, no, you're an aunt, bitch. I don't want to be your friend. I don't want you in my life. You're gonna only drag me down. That's literally the mentality that I have. It would be nice to have a kumbaya moment with anything that isn't exotical, right? It would be nice to have kumbaya moment between unambiguous black women and, exoticals as a collective. But I realize that there's just certain women that have a certain, mentality and lifestyles that I just don't fuck with. I will stay in my room. I really am that type of woman. Like, I don't do drama. I don't do drama. I don't need to do drama. When you have the mindset that you want to be something in life, something good, something impactful, something with a legacy, you just move different. And so I move different. And also my personality doesn't let me deal with bullshit. It just doesn't. I don't take bullshit off of my own mama. That's how you should know mother is not the type to go there with you. I just don't have the time. And so that's the mentality that I realize a lot of Roslins have. We enjoy being on a pedestal too much to come down, to stoop to the level of a hater or of someone who literally is just wanting to cause chaos. You don't want to be the Joker in your life, the Harley Quinn. We just don't have the time for that because there's just so much to be done, so much to appreciate, so many areas to grow in as a woman in general, that to deal with drama, deal with ghetto-ness, deal with classlessness is just not in us. And that's just facts, no matter what you look like, right? And last reason is that we are pretty, quote unquote, as a collective. You have women who are melanated, pretty face, and pretty body as representation for us. As a brown to darker skin exotical, we win regardless. Because you know who we have repping us? We have exoticals repping us that are lighter skin and that, have representation. And then you have our category, where we have the melanin of an unambiguous Black woman, but we have the beauty and the representation of that of a lighter skin exotical. So for us, we just have different feelings and plights about the conversation of representation. And regardless, we're still the princesses, one could say. We're still the monster high ghoulies. We're still running this shit in our own right. And I say quote unquote with the prettiness because unambiguous Black women are pretty as well. No one's saying they're not. As a collective, though, they are having the representation of someone who might deal with obesity, might deal with this, might deal with that, shorter hair, etc. And let me say something. I never said that Black women can't grow hair. I never said unambiguous Black women don't have long hair. Okay. As you know, mother myself, I deal with my own like hair issues because I told you that I deal with scalp psoriasis, eczema, etc. Right? So I understand there are health concerns as well. And did you guys hear about the braiding hair incident? How they're saying that they're poisoning the braiding hair? Oh my God. Women, beautiful melanated women, exoticals, unambiguous Black women alike, get yourselves together and be careful what you're ordering to put in your hair. Okay, I just had to say that. But my thing is just the fact that regardless of where I find myself in life with my hair journey, with my beauty, with my skin, etc., with my weight, whatever, I'm still deemed pretty. And I'm realizing it's because of my features, my beauty. It just doesn't go away. You can, diminish it if you're unhealthy, if you're going through something, if you're neglectful. I can agree because we have bodies. Our bodies are living, right? And so, but it never fades. No, it doesn't. And you can enhance it by doing all the right things by your body, by sleeping, by drinking water, by exercising, by eating healthy, etc. And by investing in self-care. Okay? So my thing is just the fact that to understand why some unambiguous Black women judge and hate, cannot stand brown suggestions articles, I felt the need to make this video because I realized that when it comes down to these conversations, a lot of it really has to do with mindset. I'm not going to hold you in representation. It's about how you represent yourself as a collective, what you believe. If you're an unambiguous Black woman and you think every unambiguous Black woman represents you, of course, your identity is going to be fucked up. Your representation going to be fucked up. Because the average person in general is like not thinking that way. Your mentality about yourself is going to go down because you're attributing your self-worth to the same as like someone like Sexy Red, who is ghetto as fuck and trashy as fuck, or Sukiyana. Okay? But you also are attributing your self-worth to someone like Michelle Obama. And that's what I want to go into as well. Is like with us exoticals, we cling to the women who represent us within our, exotical communities, but also their lifestyles, also the way they take care of themselves, also the mentality, also their business mentality. Like we cling to more than just the phenotype. We have to also cling to the internal factors of that same woman or that group of women rather than just the outer appearance, right? And since we know that outer appearances could change, hashtag leveling up, hashtag getting procedures done, whatever, we appreciate other beautiful women within our spaces, but we don't try to, force something that's not there. We want authentic relationships and authentic, genuine, and necessary role models. Not just anybody's going to be a role model for exoticals, and that's facts. At least that's what I've come to know within my exotical group of friends and, exotical community that I've, talked to other women within the exotical community on YouTube that I have reached out to or that I've seen their videos, the way they think, I've heard it through what they said, and, do Discord and things like that. So with that, Mother is going to say, ciao. I love you, my Roslins and Rosikins. Goodbye.